Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, I'm so excited because I have been working on, you and I have been talking kind of back and forth to text about dreaming, people dreaming again, because the number one thing you and I get asked the most is how do you find your motivation? How do you get motivated again? And
Yep.
we just did a podcast on money, and we know that people are going through times where their money is down, they're making less money. And so I think in times like that, Dana, people have a hard time dreaming again. But I really do think that somewhere on the other side of all of these hardships or troubles or, just a downturn that you're going through is opportunity. But I think you have to figure out, how do I start dreaming when it doesn't feel like I should be dreaming right now?
Yeah, I love that. It's so good. And too, I just think sometimes, you just get burnt out, or it's
Mhm.
like you just lose whatever, like, why am I doing this? Or what am I supposed to be doing? And it's
Yeah.
like you kind of just stop dreaming
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah. And then it just gets worse. So I've kind of been listening to a couple of people lately. I've decided that, and I've only missed 2 days of listening to Pastor
Yes.
Chris Hodges. I mean, I
Yes.
do it every morning. It's my
I
it's my
love it.
quiet time. And so he did a sermon the other day on dreaming,
Mhm.
and I thought, wow, our people need to hear this, because this is the thing they ask us the most is, how do I
Yep.
get motivated? And so what I loved about what I learned listening to his sermon is, I did not know this. There's actually 2 words that the word dreams is closely related to in the Bible, and sometimes they don't even know which word they're supposed to use. But one of them was restore.
That's my word of the year.
Yes. So dreaming in the Bible
Yeah.
closely relates to what the word that means restore, right?
Yes.
So I thought that is so perfect, because what you need is to be restored, but the last thing you want to do is start dreaming because of that, right? Because
That's
it's like, which
exactly
which
right.
comes first, the chicken or the egg?
And
So
truthfully, and restore biblically means not make it what it was before, but make it better than what it was before.
absolutely. So it kind of started me thinking, and then I've listened to some Simon Sinek, because he always talks about the why and all that stuff. So here's something that Chris said. There's 5 types of people. One has no dreams, or
Mm.
had one and it died.
Mm.
Another one has the wrong dream. Uh, One has dreams that's not focused on God.
Mhm.
Maybe a dream that's only about money. Or maybe you're just focused on a career, not a calling. So these are kind of in the category of the wrong dream.
Yep.
It may be a stale dream. It's a flicker, not a flame. And a
Mhm.
flicker doesn't really motivate you to do much, but a flame does.
Mhm.
Maybe your dreams are vague. It's just not clear. So it's kind of a beginning place to see, where am I in the dreaming? Where are my dreams? Are they stale? Am I trying to dream in the wrong place, that God's calling me someplace else? I think our last interview, he talked about that even when what seemed impossible with what he was trying to do, because he felt like it was a calling, he stuck with it through the hard times, right?
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
watching something today talking about how easily people quit stuff now. And,
Mhm.
just because you're called to do something, or it's a calling, doesn't mean it's gonna be easy. Just
Mhm.
means you should be so attached to it that you can hang in there through the rough times, right?
Yeah. And funny you say that, because this morning I was reading something in my just like morning quiet time, and they were breaking down the Great Resignation era, like
Mhm.
how we were, and it basically was saying that people were just quitting, like they're just giving up on stuff. And a lot of that like post pandemic, but also not really thinking through if that's the right thing to do or not, but maybe just they've lost grit, or in this case, they've lost the dream.
Mhm. Yeah, so true. So, one of the things that he talked about too is, written goals have a way of transforming wishes into wants.
Yep.
And I think sometimes early in our career, sometimes we do a lot of writing goals and then we stop over time. I know I'm not as diligent about that as I was, like having them in a visual place where I can always look at them. They turn your can'ts into cans, dreams into plans, and plans into reality. So
Love that.
the reality is there's so much power in inking your dreams and your goals and all of those things. And I think sometimes we do that early in our career and then we quit.
Yeah.
Um,
Linda, actually, one
yeah,
thing on really fast that I put two and two together this morning on this. You know, I was wanting so badly to win that competition that
yeah,
Brand Builders was doing with Rory to get the 3 free hours with Rory in person, which is a $15,000 value. And I won. And that, so I was pumped about that. But then I was looking back this morning on my vision board for the year, and I had a picture of me and Rory on there. And I said, like, wanted to develop a relationship and deepen my brand builders. And I assumed, honestly, when I put that on there, that I was going to have to pay for that. Like, I
yeah,
just assumed that at some point during the year, I was going to, you know, chalk it up, pay the 15 grand or whatever it was, and be able to have the one-on-one time with Rory because I just think he's amazing.
yeah.
And this morning I was sharing that about something. And then I was looking at my vision board and I was like, wait a minute.
There it
Like,
is.
here it is. Yes. And I just was, but then to myself, I was like, wow, the power of actually setting goals and putting them on something and, like,
Yeah.
you know, making it a part of something that you look at all the time and you're resonating. I mean, that is there is power in that. Like, you
Yes.
can't deny it.
And I think it's a power that you don't even know that's at work.
Yeah,
You
it's like
know?
your subconscious goes to work
Yes. Yeah.
also.
Yeah. And the fifth dream, which I didn't mention a while ago, was last is a transcendent dream. So those are
Oh,
the 5 types of dreams, and a person can kind of figure out where they are.
what's
And
that? What's the last one mean? Do you
I
know?
think it kind of it goes beyond you. It's
Mm,
bigger than you. It's way
yep.
past you. Does that make sense? And I've always said I really think at the end, whatever we've gone through, wherever we are, it's about serving others with whatever we have,
Yeah.
right? And one of the things that as I was looking through all this and understanding dreams and all those things, one of the things that and I can't remember if it was Simon Sinek or Chris that talked about it, but the the difference is, well, Simon says a why is where you came from and a cause is where you're going.
Mhm,
So they both talked about the dreams really need to be about moving something you're passionate about forward. When
mhm.
you can get it to that place, and it may not go there in the very beginning. When I think about my early days of real estate, I think they were just preparing me for what I do now, right?
Yep,
But
totally.
I don't, you gotta trust that the journey's leading you there, but you also have to be clear about what is the cause that you are moving forward? Like,
Yep.
what is something that you are so passionate about that you wanna move it forward? Um, everybody says this, Dan Sullivan, Simon Sinek, everybody says it starts by the time you're 8 to 12.
Mm,
And so I've tried to think back. I know when we try to get people to figure out their unique abilities, what a struggle it is. But I
yeah.
think this part is a struggle too, to try to remember what was I really doing at 8 or 12. And the other day I realized I was a dreamer. I've always been
Mhm,
a dreamer. I've
mhm.
always been imagining what things could be like or
Yeah.
all the things, right? And it's no different today. You know, I
Mhm,
feel like I'm always looking for what's the dream or the idea, and then
mhm.
how do I get other people to get on board to do it, to move their cause forward, right? To help
So
them try
true.
to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. Um, but I think we're so close to it sometimes that it's hard for us to go back and see what it
Mhm.
really was when we were 8 to 12 years old, right? But every one of them say the same thing. It starts when you're 8 to 12. You start developing those unique abilities and those things that you're going to carry into your future.
Well, and Linda,
Um,
that reminds me too of some of the saying that sometimes other people see things in you that you don't see in yourself.
yes,
Um,
yes.
and so sometimes, you know, you might need to ask or see what other people see in you because it might be something that you aren't even able to recognize.
That's why I like in the unique ability book, it talks about sending a letter out to
Yeah,
other
I love
people.
that.
And just, don't think about what they're saying. Like, I remember, and I want to say, I can't remember when I sent my letter out. A lot of it came back as you can motivate me to
Yeah.
dream bigger, to think bigger, or whatever. And I didn't really connect it at the time, but now I kind of see it as a full picture, and it is what gives me joy and what I love doing. I love helping people see a bigger opportunity for themselves, a bigger life they could have, a bigger, you know, uh, journey they could go on if they're willing to be have the courage to do it, right? So seeing those opportunities and those ideas, even for other people, is all part of it. So I think you need to listen and just resonate on what the people are saying and think about times in your life when you did do those things and how did that make you feel when you're able to do those things. The other thing, and then I so believe this one is sometimes your dreams get formed through your trauma. And we just heard that on the interview that we did that'll drop either before this one or after this one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes trauma to cause them to come to the forefront or for you to act on them. Actually, I feel like it was the trauma of us losing first, the trauma of living the childhood of, poverty and all the things and
Yeah.
dysfunction that
Yeah.
started it for me. And then the trauma of what we went through when I thought I had already solved it. And Jimmy
Yeah.
and I went so far in debt. I realized that thank God for that trauma because that trauma made me get busy on it. And I don't
Yeah.
know if I would have gotten busy before. So sometimes it gets formed through trauma.
I've never thought about that before, but I can actually think back and that's accurate.
Yeah. A dream really moves a cause forward and makes advancement in something that you're passionate and excited about. This one was big. It needs to be infinite, not finite. I just did a talk yesterday for some market centers in Chicago. And one of the questions somebody gave me is, I'm this age. How do I continue to be dreaming and whatever? And I said, I don't think our dreams get too old. I think we just stop connecting with them. And so part of what I said was, she said, well, I've made all the money. I've got the house. I've got the car. I said, well, that's finite. You need
Yeah.
something that's infinite.
Yeah.
And I think a cause is more infinite and a goal or money goal or whatever is a finite. But
Yeah.
and one of the things that I think it was, I don't know who said it, Simon Sinek or whatever, but think about Michael Phelps, some of the other great Olympians that after they had their big dream, there was no dreaming afterwards. So they fall off a cliff. They get
Yeah.
depressed. They do drugs. They do alcohol, all of
Yeah.
those things. Well, we're no different, right? We have to have dreams because that's if we have one big one and it stops, then all of a sudden all of
Yeah.
our identity was tied up in that. So I think we need to
That's so
unattach our
true.
identity to anything that we're doing and go and look for the uniqueness that we have in what we're doing so that we
Yeah.
can find other places to apply it.
Yeah.
If we think
Totally.
it's only
So good.
about a job we're doing or a role we're doing and it's only about a finite number, that's gonna end, and it's not gonna end as my little granddaughter said yesterday when her sister had to go to the bathroom because she was acting up, she goes, "That's not gonna end well." She's 5, and she decided that's not gonna end well for her sister. But that's not gonna end well if we have those finite numbers and things and all of our identity is tied up in, "I'm a realtor and I sell houses."
Yeah.
No, you're a unique person who has all of these skills that can be transferred to wherever you're dreaming right now. It doesn't you know what I mean? That one may
Yeah.
take you to a finite place, but
Yeah.
you can pick those same things up and go farther or have them be infinite in another way.
Yeah, I love all of this. Like I love everything that you're saying. This is so good. I'm so glad that we did this because I do think sometimes too people just have stopped because they've stopped dreaming. They get in a rut, and John Maxwell always says, "Do everything you can to avoid getting in a rut because it's hard as hell to get out of one." And
Yeah.
sometimes I think that
Yeah.
that has a lot to do with this because they people you we stop dreaming or we just start to coast almost.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, I can think of times where that's happened to me, and then you start to kind of get down or get depressed or whatever, especially when you're focused so much on those finite things.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think back to a time when I was working with a business psychotherapist. Jimmy and I were. It was all real estate couples, and we were with a business psychotherapist. And I've ran many half marathons, but I've only ran the one marathon. And I remember after the marathon, I didn't put on my shoes for like 4 months, and I ran 30 something years consistently. There was never a
Mhm.
4 month break. And so I was talking to my business psychotherapist about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, Linda, anytime you don't have some kind of goals after, especially a bigger goal, you fall off a cliff, you go into depression,
Yeah,
and I was not prepared for that, so that's exactly what happened, and it was really hard to get out of.
yeah,
Whereas if I had already said, "Hey, okay, I'm gonna do this half marathon right after that or this
yeah,
even 10K, anything." So I think if and I think we can we can start dreaming on the front end, and then we stop, and then all of a sudden we get to a certain number, to a certain place, and then it's hard to now start
Mhm.
dreaming it. We should continually have those dreams in front of us. And I always think about what Dan Sullivan says: the way you make your present better is to make your future brighter.
Yeah.
So always have that brighter future that's out there, and that's going to pull you through any hard things, any whatever. And I've actually kind of relaxed into everybody's money is lower right now, and said, like you said earlier in our previous podcast, once you've lost everything, you don't panic as much about your money going down. What you
Mhm.
begin to do is look for the nuggets, or the path it's trying to take you on, or what have you not been paying attention to that you need to. And it kind of has a little bit of an
Yeah.
excitement about it if you understand it, and you know that you can,
Yeah.
it too will pass, right? It's when you don't know where the bottom is, or
Yes.
you don't know if it'll ever pass, that the fear and the takes hold, and it's a little bit harder to even function when it's like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, it's just been on my heart, because as I've given several talks recently, I've tried to pay attention to what is the biggest issue people are facing. And I think you and I get it and hear it all the time so much. It's about, how do I get motivated? How do I get energized and excited? And I think, because our world is so comfortable, that it makes it harder to go get yourself uncomfortable, to go
Mm.
to wherever that next level is, or that brighter future is. And there's always going to be some discomfort, but we get to a place where we don't really want any discomfort, and you have to be okay with some discomfort.
Yeah, totally. Well, okay, you know what I just thought of too, and I know we're about out of time, but I think that's why you and I also love John Maxwell so much, because what did he, I can't remember what he just turned, how old he is now. Do you remember?
70 something.
78 or I can't remember. Yeah,
78.
okay.
Yeah, 78, I think.
But every time that we are around him, and like I think of this year, he came out with his what he's calling his big boy list of all the things that, he still has left that he's
Yeah,
dreaming about and wanting to accomplish. And I'm like, it is so inspiring to me because,
yeah.
he doesn't need to do anything anymore.
Mhm.
Yet he is still dreaming huge, I mean, huge big boy dreams, as he called them. Uh, and even almost being 80 years old. And it's just like, that those are infinite things. Like that is an infinite big boy list. It's not the finite stuff that he's worried about or that he cares about. In fact, I think he said he's going to give all that stuff away before he dies because he wants to know where it goes or see who it goes to or whatever.
Yeah,
But it's like when you look at people like that, I mean, that's what is so inspiring. And look how much energy you and I always say he has more energy than we do. And
yeah.
it's because he is motivated and he has got the momentum because he is still dreaming at such a huge level. It just like it pulls him towards things.
Yeah, you're so right, Dana. And I think it's the difference between having a calling and a career.
Totally.
We've
Yep.
gotta move our career to a
Yep.
calling, and then
Yep.
it never ends. It's infinite, it's transcendent, it's all of those things, but it's
Yep.
a calling, not a career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is huge. Even Matt said that on the episode we just recorded. And I think when you can really understand that, like that's when such a significant shift happens in your life.
Yeah, and it's okay to not understand it, or to be so uncomfortable when you first hear it. I think about all the things that I've learned over the years, from John, from Gary Keller, from Dan everybody. I love it when something is so uncomfortable for me to hear, because I don't understand it, because that
Yeah.
means there's going to be a breakthrough somewhere if I will sit with that, and I will continue to go back and visit
Yep.
that. So if it seems foreign, or you don't I mean, like I think about Gary talking about only needing 5 to 7 key wealth determiners your life. That went so far over my head when I first heard it.
Yeah.
It made me uncomfortable to hear it, because I didn't know what he was talking. Now I look at my life over time, as I stayed with it and
Yeah.
continued to learn and adopt it, the biggest difference it makes. So it's okay if some of this stuff goes, well, this just doesn't even remotely sound like what I have. That's okay, because sitting in the uncomfortableness, you'll go to work, your subconscious will go to work, your mind will
Yep.
go to work to figure out, how do I get to where my stuff is a calling, not just a career.
Yep. Totally. Yeah. I love it.
Awesome. All right. So
Great
let's just
stuff.
keep dreaming.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully this encouraged people to dream again.
Yeah, one last thing real quick with Pastor Chris. He had on his dream board, he had to fly in one of those like supersonic planes, jets or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said that, uh, he'd almost given up on it because it'd been on there so long. But he's given a sermon at Christmas one time, and all of a sudden, these he didn't know, two generals in his membership of his church came up to him and they handed him a letter, and they had quit this program. They used to have a program where you could take a civilian if they were like a high powered civilian in these really fast planes, right? And they handed him a letter, and he got to go do it, what he had been
Wow.
wanting to do forever. So I love hearing things like that, because you want to
Yeah,
put things on that are so far out there that you have to know that when they get done, God did them.
totally. I love that so much. And really did that. If he would have never have shared that, it wouldn't have happened because those guys wouldn't have known that.
Absolutely, and what joy it gave them to be the people that, made that happen. I love
Yeah.
it.
Which is what John always says, one of the ways to get out of the people pile, do something for somebody that they can't do for themselves.
Yes, and listen for other people's dreams where you can
Yeah.
go, "Oh, I can help make that happen. I
Yes.
I've got means to do that." I love that. So I think you beginning to dream more and listening for other people's dreams of where can you step in that gap and help them accomplish whatever their dreams are. You get just as honestly, you get as much joy as you do getting your own dreams.
Yes. So true. So true. Awesome. Great
All right, well,
episode.
Dana, I guess I'll see you next week. Remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pass on to Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anybody who would benefit from our conversations. If you have a challenge, an opportunity, a question, or a guest, be sure and reach out to us at info@everythinglifeandrealestate. Dana, I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you then.